Hey there, and welcome to the Kevin Strong Show. And in this video, we're going to talk about 4 things that you typically purchase that's keeping you from retiring early. We're going to talk about some cost saving methods to basically lower your expenses, to maybe flush out some more cash so you can save it for either investing, retiring, or possibly for home ownership. And is it really true that if you file a Chapter 7, it's going to just destroy your chances of ever owning a home for at least 10 years? That is BS. I'm going to prove it to you. So stick with me until the end of this show. If you're new, welcome. Start off by thinking about subscribing. If you do enjoy this content at the end of this video, show me some appreciation by hitting the like button. So without further ado, we're going to slide over here and talk about 4 purchases keeping the middle class from retiring early. So what is the first thing? Obviously, the biggest expense is a home. And they're basically saying that if you earn $70,000 a year, for example, that you shouldn't spend more than $350,000 for a home, roughly 3 or 4 times your gross income. This is no longer applicable or realistic for probably 90% of the U.S. population because home prices have skyrocketed so much over the last 4 years. So this guideline for gross income in relationship to how much home you should purchase is probably only applicable for those people who live in the Midwest, which is right now probably one of the last frontiers in terms of areas that are still offering affordable housing. Indiana, where I'm from, Ohio, especially that Cleveland area, Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo, just Pittsburgh, that Midwest Rust Belt area offers a lot of affordable homes. There's some homes on the near west side of Cleveland that you can get single family homes for, maybe 1,200 square feet for, believe it or not, under $130,000. So for those of you who have the ability to work remotely and have that agreement in writing, as I talked about in a previous video, so you have to worry about getting rug pulled at the last minute. That might be a viable option for you and your significant other. Since I'm on the topic of home ownership, I'm going to go ahead and give you the teaser right now. So there's this big push that basically tells you if you file a Chapter 7, which is a total discharge of all of your debt. What I'm about to say is not financial advice. It is not legal advice, but I do have experience, personal experience in both. Chapter 13 quickly is a reorganization of your debt. You have to pay it back. Chapter 7 is basically you're just clapping your hands and saying, I'm done with everything. Take it all. I want to start over. Credit specialists market very well about how devastating this is, and it can be, but it's not a death sentence. So here are the guidelines that if you file a Chapter 7, how soon after your Chapter 7 has been discharged from the court or can you qualify for a home again? If you want to file a Chapter 7 and get a conventional mortgage, you got to wait 4 years. If it's an FHA mortgage, it's 2 years. If it's a, what's the other one? USDA loan, 3 years. And for my veterans out there, only 2 years. Now, after the Chapter 7 has been discharged, it's incumbent upon you to start rebuilding credit. And you may say, hey, Kevin, well, I've got a Chapter 7. Who's going to lend me credit? You'd be surprised because they know once you file a Chapter 7, you can't file it again for another, I think it's either 5 or 7 years. So you have nowhere to go. So that's why if you know someone who's filed a Chapter 7, you're like, how the hell is this person being offered all of this credit right after they just filed a Chapter 7? Because the creditor knows you can't file again for quite some time. So you can start to rebuild with non-traditional credit, like keeping track of your cell phone payments, insurance, things of that nature, utility bills. These are non-traditional credit items that may not typically show up on your credit report, but a lender will look at payment history and give you credit for, quote unquote, establishing non-traditional credit. So wanted to kind of give you that deep dive. If you think that's not accurate, go ahead and Google and look it up. Full disclosure, licensed real estate agent and mortgage broker in Washington and Maine. Both of those licenses are inactive, but once again, not financial legal advice. Do your own due diligence, but trust me, homie, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that, personally speaking. All right, brand new cars. So the average new car is roughly $50,000 as of December of 2024. That compared to just $32,000 for a year, $32,000 for a used car. The difference being $17,000. So I am not a big fan of buying a new car. I think some other sucker should take that depreciation hit. For those of you who have been following me for a while, have heard this analogy, but for those of you that are new to the program, I'm going to give you a very, very powerful explanation as to why you really need to minimize your purchase of a car and really treat it as just a necessary liability, a necessary liability. So here's the example. Let's say your car note is $700 a month. Most people commute back and forth to work. A lot of people don't commute at all because, as I said previously, some people are working remotely. And for those who are working remotely, this example is going to drive home the point even more so why you should not have a car payment or minimize it. If you accept the premise that on average, you're going to spend 2 hours a day in your car, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but on average, let's say two hours, right? 2 times 30 is 60. Well, let's say 62 if you got 31 days in a month. How many hours are in a day? 24 hours. So you're not even spending 3 days in your car over a 30-day period, but that represents what? $500, $600, $700 a month payment plus insurance plus gas. You know, some people you can easily round it up to $1,000. So let's just say, from a comprehensive standpoint, on the low end, when you factor in the car payment, the insurance, and the gas, it's easily $600 to $1,000. And if your after-tax income is around $4,000 or $5,000, that's anywhere from 25 to 20% of your net income that's going towards something that you only use 3 days out of the month. It is a maintenance problem waiting to happen. And every mile that you drive that liability on 4 wheels, it's depreciating in value because the mileage on the vehicle is going up. This is one of the cornerstone purchases of poor and middle class people that prevents them from getting to the next level, because it's all about intrinsic value and how that car makes them feel. And they're not putting pen to paper and coming to the conclusion that, does this make financial sense for myself and my family? And if you're being objectively honest with yourself, the clear answer is no. The next category is excessive subscriptions, right? A lot of us are guilty of this. You might be paying $100 a month for streaming services. That's $1,200 a year. You might have a gym membership that's $70 a month, but you only use it, once or twice a month. So you're really paying $35 per visit for things like that. You've been going to the gym for 4 years, but your body still looks the same. So you're in that participation, not progress mode, as they say. Don't confuse participation with progress, right? So you need to have a heart-to-heart with yourself to say, do I really need this? Is this a necessity, or am I paying for this out of convenience or habit? Next category is private schools. A lot of parents spend a lot of money on their kids' education. And as a result of them doing that, it hurts their retirement. I am a big component on not doing this. I don't think you should be paying for your kids' college at all. I think that is a catastrophic mistake. If you and your child feel it's necessary for them to go to college, damn it, let them take some loans out. If you're incurring some interest or whatever during the time, most of the federal loans, whatever, you don't pay any interest there. That's all suspended. But my point is that let them take that burden for 4 years. And if you and your significant other are in a financial position to help them out, you let your kids take on that burden, finish the degree, and then your reward to them for finishing the degree is to pay it off. Because typically your student loan payments don't kick in until 6 months after you graduate. So there's plenty of time from the time that they graduate and potentially trying to secure employment with that degree that you and your significant other can step in and be like, hey, John, or hey, Jill, you took on the student loan, you started something and you finished it. And our graduation present to you is to pay off your student loans to put you in the best position to prosper and move forward as a young adult. But if you do that ahead of time, and for some reason somebody gets pregnant, they drop out, they fall in love, all this other crap that prevents them from finishing something that they said they're going to start, once you're saddled with that debt, it's hard to get out of it. So just a crazy, crazy thing. So what are some of the things I think you should do that are drastic to determine whether or not you're really serious about cutting your expenses in 2025? Are you willing to reduce your cell phone bill to a prepayment plan? Right? Are you willing to cut cable? I mean, down to the basic necessities where it's just internet service. And if you don't have a business need for internet service and you go to a prepaid phone, you might want to cut it out altogether. Is it uncomfortable, or are you just unwilling to do it? These are signs to tell yourself whether or not, to measure yourself against, to tell yourself whether or not you're really serious about getting out of a debt situation and getting towards financial prosperity. If you don't have an emergency fund, you shouldn't be going out to eat. You should be taking your lunch every single day until you have an emergency fund, until you have that debt paid down. So a lot of people are just unwilling to make these necessary sacrifices in order to get to the next level. Me and a friend that I used to talk about all the time, we used to joke around and say, you know, people have options. They're not attractive, but you have options. If home ownership is your thing, and because of the price of homes and homeowners insurance and taxes are just basically pricing you out of home ownership, and that's something that you and your significant other want, I've talked about this. Consider a multifamily purchase, a two-family or a duplex, however you call it, or a fourplex. Fannie and Freddie Mac will let you go up to a 4-unit. You know, you live in one, you rent out the other 3. It's not ideal, but guess what? You're still getting all the benefits of a single-family home in terms of appreciation, write-offs, accumulating wealth through appreciation, things of that nature. And maybe that's to transition into a single family home. Maybe you get a 2-family, and then after a couple of years, your significant other move into another 2-family. And then maybe that third one is a single family home. Now you've got 2 rental properties. Hopefully both of them are cash flowing, and that extra cash you can put down towards your single family home to offset the rising cost of home ownership. So there's some creative ways you can get into home ownership. They may not be ideal, but given the rising cost of homes, homeowners insurance, and property taxes, you may have to come up with creative ways or compromise your way to getting towards your ultimate goal. So as always, this is going to do it for the Kevin Strong Show. Keep your credit score up and your debt down. If you enjoyed this episode of the show, please do me the honor by hitting that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And subscribe if you haven't done so. Thanks.